Welcome to a Legendarium special about the incredible voyage of George Anson. In Part 1, 1740 to 1741, we will talk about how George Anson started his epic cruise around the world. George Anson was born on April 23, 1697 in Shugborough, England, to a family of great standing and wealth. Relatively little is known about his early life, save that he entered the Royal Navy at the age of 17 during the year 1712. He became a captain 11 years later and had the chance to distinguish himself when the War of Jenkins Ear began on October 23, 1739. It began when Robert Jenkins, the owner of said ear, served as a captain on board the HMS Rebecca. While in Spanish waters, the Spaniards boarded his ship and apparently cut off his ear. When Jenkins returned home with his ear pickled in a bottle of brine, it had a tremendous effect upon Britain. The House of Commons summoned Jenkins to appear before them and told him to produce his pickled ear, which he duly did. The shriveled object whipped up national pride and anger towards Spain. Finally, Parliament decided to teach the Spanish a lesson, and in doing so, they hoped to snatch some of Spain's rich Caribbean prizes from them. When the war began, Captain Anson served as the commander of the 60-gun man-of-war HMS Centurion. The Admiralty soon gave the 42-year-old Anson command of a 6-ship flotilla and promotion to Commodore. They also gave him orders to seize Spanish ships in the Pacific Ocean, especially the coveted Manila galleons, which brought expensive Asian goods to Europe. First, Anson would travel to the western coast of South America and then Acapulco, where he would meet the Spanish galleons. Despite the lure of Spanish gold, work on Anson's squadron went at the speed of bureaucracy, since most had poor quality rigging, masts, and sails. The government of Horace Walpole sought austerity in government, spending little supposedly to spare the taxpayers. In reality, they spent little because Walpole and his flunkies thought taxpayer money would look better in their own purses. That meant the Admiralty recruited sailors from prisons, pulled recruits from hospitals, and turned over raw Royal Army recruits as Marines. During September 1740, the Walpole government even drafted 500 patients, many past 60 years of age, from the Old Soldiers' Home in Chelsea. So many ran away despite being under guard that only 259 shabbily dressed pensioners arrived. This would be only one of the many challenges Anson faced during his voyage around the world. Unfavorable winds delayed Anson's departure until September 25th, when he sailed southwest towards Portugal's Madeira Islands. As Anson refilled his water casks, he learned that a 5-ship Spanish flotilla under Don José Pizarro left to intercept and sink him. Nonetheless, Anson continued to St. Catherine's Island off the coast of Brazil. During the 2-month voyage across the Atlantic, scurvy erupted among the crew. This disease, caused by a lack of vitamins, caused swelling gums, loose teeth, and growing weakness until the victim finally collapsed. Anson packed the sick into fetid holds where the sick could only lie in their own urine and feces. Upon arriving at St. Catherine's Island, Anson ordered the ships scrubbed with vinegar to rid them of accumulated and encrusted filth. He restored the crew to health with fresh fruit and vegetables found on the island. Finally, on January 28, 1741, the squadron resumed sailing down the eastern coast of South America. During the trip, one ship drifted away from Anson's flotilla and narrowly evaded capture by Pizarro's fleet. Unfortunately, a storm proved more effective than the Spanish, snapping off the mainmast of one of Anson's ships. He put ashore at St. Julian Island in Patagonia, only to find himself on a treeless plain. Nonetheless, Anson repaired the mast, and 3 weeks later, the flotilla headed towards Tierra del Fuego, which they would round to reach the Pacific Ocean. There, the fleet endured gale-force winds and mountainous waves that tossed the ships about like penances. As the crew struggled, scurvy erupted once more, some dead men rolling around on deck as storms knocked the ships about. 2 of the 6 ships, their crews too reduced by storm and scurvy to continue, went home to Britain. Neither captain faced punishment, and both later took new commands. As if he did not face enough trouble, Anson badly misjudged the powerful western current and barely avoided grounding his ships on the western tip of Tierra del Fuego. By the time he emerged from Cape Horn, violent winds scattered the squadron, and the HMS Centurion reached Juan Fernandez Island alone. By the time the HMS Centurion arrived at Juan Fernandez Island on June 9, 1741, her 521-man company shrank to 200. Fortunately, 2 more ships struggled their way to the anchorage with a combined crew of only 139 men. That meant only 339 of the original 1,939 sailors from Portsmouth arrived safely at Juan Fernandez Island. There the sailors found an abundance of fruit and vegetables, which they gorged themselves on. The sick lay in pitched tents as they recovered their health. Later, Anson learned that his 4th ship, the Voyager, suffered a mutiny. During a storm, the crew broke into the hold, stole the rum, and threw the captain overboard in a drunken rage. Sadly for Anson, they took the mortars and light cannons with them. Nonetheless, on September 9, 1741, Anson's remaining ships left Juan Fernandez Island searching for Spanish gold. The very next day, Anson found the Nuestra Senora taking more than 1,800 pounds sterling in coin and plate. After that, Anson put a crew aboard and set sail with a total of 4 ships. Even better, Anson learned that Pizarro failed to round the Horn, but he alerted the Viceroy of Peru, which meant that Anson would have yet more trouble, which we will cover in Part 2. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.